One of the best ways to inject anatomy into your drawings is with the use of rhythm lines. In music, a rhythm describes the relationship between two or more musical notes. In drawing, a rhythm line describes the relationship between two or more visual elements. It's basically a shorthand that helps artists remember complex information. So let's see how we can add anatomical rhythms to this simplified nose to make it even more realistic. By the way, if you enjoyed this lesson, be sure to check out the full nose drawing course at mydrawingtutorials.com/nose. It will dive way deeper into the subject and teach you everything you need to draw realistic and dynamic noses. Okay, back to the lesson. We'll start by drawing in the separation between the nasal bone and lateral cartilage. Proportion-wise, this line will be 1/3 of the way down the front plane of the nose. This isn't a hard rule because proportion can vary widely between individuals, but it can be a very helpful guide when you're starting out. Notice how this line is slightly curved to show that the bridge of the nose is rounded and protrudes forward slightly. This line will continue down the side plane to show how the side of the nose gradually slopes down towards the face. And we can draw this horizontal guideline to make sure that the other side is symmetrical. Next, we'll sketch in the front portion of the lateral cartilage. The cartilage will taper in and come to a point at about 2/3 of the way down the front plane. Again, this is just a rough estimate. Notice how the bridge of the nose is widest at the point where the nasal bone and lateral cartilage meet. This is an important detail to keep in mind when drawing the bridge. Now, we'll draw in the greater iliac cartilage. We'll start with the center line that separates the two pieces of the cartilage. The top edge of the cartilage will angle upward until it hits the corner of the bridge, and then curve downward to connect to the side. And we'll do the same for the other side. Again, we can use a guideline to keep things even. The top edge of the iliac cartilage will look a bit like the top edge of a heart shape. Next, we'll draw in the separation between the greater iliac cartilage and the wings of the nostril. The line will angle in towards the center of the nose, and then turn the corner to connect to the bottom plane. I'm making the angle change coincide with the guideline just for convenience, but that's not a hard rule or anything. Where you place this line and how you draw it will affect how big the wings appear, and that can vary a lot with different nose types. I recommend you play around with the placement of this line to see how it affects the look of the nose. And lastly, we'll sketch in the openings of the nostril. I'll start by drawing the top edge of the nostril. Notice how this top edge is broken up into 3 line segments, and they essentially mirror the edges of the bottom plane. So this segment roughly matches this edge, this middle segment roughly matches this edge, and this segment roughly matches this outer edge. So basically, we're just drawing a smaller version of the surrounding edges with a little variation so that it looks more organic. And with the bottom portion, we're just doing the same thing, except there's going to be this notch that goes up into the nostril. And that notch is basically to illustrate how the wings and iliac cartilage hooks up as they attach to the face. And I'll redraw the bottom edge to make that even more clear. That notch at the bottom is probably the most important detail that you need to remember. One trick is to notice that the opening looks similar to a bean shape or a quotation mark. Okay, now we can do the same for the other side. The bottom and center portion of the nose will have a slightly pointed appearance. And that's it for the front view. As you can see, just by adding a few simple rhythm lines onto the simplified nose, we're able to quickly create a pretty realistic nose. Okay, now let's draw in the 3/4 view. I'll go ahead and draw in these horizontal guidelines to make sure that all the major elements line up. Again, we'll start with the separation between the nasal bone and lateral cartilage. And we'll continue that line down the side of the nose. Next, we'll draw in the front portion of the lateral cartilage. Then we'll sketch in the greater alar cartilage. The far side will be slightly foreshortened, so we're only going to see a little bit of it peeking through. The ball of the nose has a slightly rounded form, so I'll curve the center line out slightly in order to show that. Now we can draw in the separation between the alar cartilage and nostril. And lastly, we'll draw in the openings of the nostril. Again, we're just following the contour of the edges of the bottom plane. And then adding a notch at the bottom to show how the alar cartilage and wings curl up towards the face. And I'll redraw the bottom edge to make that even more clear. And I feel like this tip is looking a little weird, so I'll just fix it real quick. Don't be afraid to erase and adjust your drawing until it looks right to you. This process of trying different things is actually how you develop your sense of proportion. There, much better. Alright, now let's sketch in the side view. From this angle, we won't be able to see much of the front plane, and the line going down the side of the nose will look more straight than curved. We'll only see a little bit of the front of the lateral cartilage peeking through. Next, I'll curve the tip of the nose to show its rounded form. And then we'll draw in the top edge of the greater alar cartilage. Next, we'll separate the wings from the alar cartilage. And lastly, we'll sketch in the openings of the nostril. Again, notice how the bottom of the nose curl up and in. Okay, so that's how you draw the anatomical rhythms. Go ahead and practice these yourself, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Well, I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and if you did, make sure to check out the full nose drawing course at mydrawingtutorials.com/nose. You'll get hours of additional lessons and step-by-step exercises, and learn things like how to draw and shade the nose from a bunch of different angles, how to exaggerate your reference and draw stylized or cartoonish noses, how to draw noses from your imagination, and a whole lot more. So if you're ready to improve your nose drawing skills, head over to mydrawingtutorials.com/nose or click the link below.